court's been housed here, in a building designed by the British architect Sir Richard Rogers. Its vast glass reception area is a symbol of the court's accessibility. This is the main courtroom. In the center, the carpet shows the 12 stars of the European flag, originally conceived as a logo for the Council of Europe. Today, it's also been adopted by the European Union as a symbol of European solidarity. This is where public hearings are held before the court's judges, sitting either in chambers of 7 judges, or as the Grand Chamber composed of 17 judges.
La Cour.
On the 1st of November 1998, a new court was inaugurated following a radical reform. Since then, the court has comprised full-time judges from more than 40 European countries. Judges bring with them expert knowledge of their country's laws and legal systems. However, they are fully independent and do not represent any national interests.
Je déclare solennellement que j'exercerai mes fonctions de juge avec honneur, indépendance et impartialité.
And that I will keep secret all deliberations.
Very much.
(1949). At a time when images of concentration camps and other Second World War atrocities were still fresh in people's minds, a number of European countries joined forces to create a new organization, the Council of Europe. Its mission? To safeguard peace through the promotion and protection of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law across Europe. With these goals in mind, the Council's first and most important treaty was drafted, the European Convention on Human Rights. The Convention was initially signed on the 4th of November 1950 by 12 countries. It entered into force in September 1953. The court was set up in 1959 to deal with alleged violations of the Convention.
Article 2. Everyone's right to life shall be protected by law.
Никто не должен подвергаться ни пыткам, ни бесчеловечному.
Toda persona tiene derecho a la libertad y a la seguridad.
Nul ne peut être tenu en esclavage ni en servitude.
Jedermann hat Anspruch auf freie Meinungsäußerung.
Herkes gerek medeni hak ve yükümlülükleriyle
Ingen får fällas till ansvar för någon gärning.
The Convention guarantees, among others, freedom of expression, freedom of thought and religion, the right to liberty and security, the right to respect for private and family life, the right to marry, and the right to an education. The most fundamental of all is the right to life. The court has dealt with a number of cases concerning disappearances or deaths of people taken into custody in police stations or prisons, sometimes into custody not even acknowledged by the authorities. Certain cases involve the treatment of Kurds living in the southeast region of Turkey in the mid-1990s in the context of a government crackdown on terrorism. The prohibition of torture or inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment is another fundamental right. In 1999, France was found to be responsible for the torture of Ahmed Salmouni, a convicted drug smuggler, while he was in police custody. While being held in a cell, Mr. Salmouni told a doctor that he had been subjected to prolonged attacks by police officers. Mr. Salmouni brought his case to the European Court of Human Rights which upheld his allegations, backed by medical evidence that he had been tortured by being beaten, urinated over, and threatened with a blow lamp and a syringe. In 1989, the court found that there would have been a violation of Article 3 if the United Kingdom had extradited Jens Söring, a German national, to the state of Virginia in the United States of America, where he was charged with the murder of his girlfriend's parents. The court found that because the death penalty was in force in Virginia, Mr. Söring risked spending 6 to 8 years on death row, not knowing whether or not he would be executed. This in itself, the court ruled, would have amounted to inhuman and degrading treatment. The most common complaints brought before the court, however, concern the right to a fair hearing, especially the length of time people have had to wait for their cases to be resolved. This problem is most prevalent in Italy. Many thousands of cases have come to the court from applicants, some of whom have waited over 20 years for a final judgment. It's easy now to take all these rights for granted, but prior to the creation of the convention system and its various protocols, individuals couldn't bring complaints of human rights abuses against their own governments before an international court. Neither could one government bring a case concerning another government's treatment of its own people. From the beginning, the vast majority of cases submitted to the court have come from individual members of the general public. Sometimes applicants are well known in their own country, or even internationally. Occasionally, members of royal families come to the court, such as the former King Constantine of Greece, who successfully brought a case against the Greek state for having violated his right to property by confiscating 3 family estates without paying compensation. Court cases can also touch on politically sensitive issues, such as the prosecution of those responsible for the shootings of East Germans trying to flee to the west across the Berlin Wall. Egon Krenz, who was president of the Council of State at the time of the events in question, contested the legality of his murder conviction for the shootings. However, the court held unanimously that there had been no violation of his rights under the convention. One aspect of the convention system that some people find difficult to accept is that the rights and freedoms it guarantees apply to everyone, including convicted criminals. For example, the court ruled that 2 10-year-old British boys who murdered a toddler had not had a fair hearing. It was found that they had been unable to participate effectively in their trial, which lasted 3 weeks in public in an adult court not adapted to the needs of such young offenders. Overall, the sheer number of people protected by the convention system is staggering. There are around 800 million people living in the countries which have ratified the convention alone, an area stretching across 18 time zones from Greenland to Cyprus and from Portugal to Vladivostok in eastern Russia. Non-Europeans, whether refugees, tourists, or people who happen to be within the jurisdiction of the country concerned, are also protected. The court found, for example, that holding 4 brothers and sisters from Somalia for 20 days in a transit zone at Paris-Orly Airport in 1992 violated the family's right to liberty. However, not everyone turning to the court for help is successful in bringing a case. The court receives many hundreds of letters and telephone calls a day, as well as faxes and emails.